Alright guys, so today's video isn't really on one specific product. In fact, it's really to talk about, do we really even need to buy the newest product? Do we have to replace audio products that we already own just because? Now I know this is not something that you would hear from somebody that reviews new audio products, but what sparked this, basically idea is the fact that I went to the pawn shop over the weekend. I love going to pawn shops. You just don't ever really know what it is you're going to find, what you're going to stumble on. And in most cases, you usually don't really find a whole lot. But every now and then, you do come across some pretty nice hidden gems. So this past weekend, I went into one of the shops, and this one particular store was having a hard time selling headphones. The guy just wanted to get rid of a group of headphones just to kind of clear out some space. In fact, he bundled 4 different headphones that I was kind of looking at, and he said, look, if you want them, I'll just sell them all to you for $100 total. And I immediately took this deal because for $100, I got the Audio-Technica ATH-8700X, which is a $190 pair of open back headphones. And honestly, I immediately fell in love with these, which we'll go into that, in just a second. And I also picked up the Monolith M1060 headphone. This is an open back headphone that uses 106mm planar magnetic drivers. So I definitely had to jump on this. And then I picked up the classic pair of headphones, which is the Sennheiser HD280 Pro. This is like almost kind of like a standard when it comes to a studio style pair of headphones, or, just a very inexpensive pair that's made to just kind of chill and listen to at the house. But this is a pair that's definitely stood the test of time. And then the last one that I picked up is the HiFiMan HE350. Now, this is a really good budget open back headphone that's really kind of been known for modding it. You can do a lot with it because it does sound a particular way out of the box, but you can amplify some different things just with some simple modifications, which again, we'll talk about a little bit later in the video. So each of these products that I just mentioned that I picked up from the pawn shop, they came out years ago. In fact, the AD700X came out back in 2013, and in my opinion, it still destroys most of the sub $200 open back headphones that are even coming out today. So you can actually even still buy these on Audio-Technica's website. But my point is, just because a new pair of headphones or earbuds or speakers come out, it doesn't mean that you just have to drop what you already have and run out and buy the newest product. And in some cases, there's not really much of a difference between that and the previous version that's already out. I mean, some of my favorites are things that came out years ago, and sometimes the saying where they don't actually make things like they used to, it's actually true. When the newest pair of AirPods come out, you'll see a lot of reviewers talk about them like, they just heard music for the first time. Like it's the greatest thing that you could possibly buy. And in most cases, it's not really much different than the previous model that came out. It doesn't really change much when it comes to the sound. It may have added one additional feature that a lot of people aren't even going to use, but because it's the latest, people feel like they have to go out and just buy it. I think in a way, what's destroying the tech industry is like when a car comes out, you'll see the same body style for years, and there may be like one little thing that changed between one model to the next. And it's not really worth releasing a new product every year. It's how the market gets crowded. It's how people get unexcited about a new product because there's not really anything new to get excited about. And then consumers are getting frustrated because they feel like they're not getting that wow factor when they get a new piece of technology. They're not going to. You're basically buying something you probably already own for the most part, and it really isn't anything to get excited about. But it doesn't really seem to matter because it's like people want the newest, shiny, new product that just came out because it's what people are telling them they should buy. You don't have to do this. You may already have a really good earbud or headphone that's gonna last you years anyway. And a lot of the older headphones, they do last a long time. And some of these are even meant to just swap out some things. I mean, it's easy to replace ear pads, and in some cases, headbands. And drivers, for the most part, do last a long time, unless you just do, something really bad to damage it. So I'm not saying that there aren't new products that don't top the previous models. That would just be stupid for me to say. But the headphones that I picked up this past weekend are all still incredible headphones. And in most cases, they are headphones that I've owned in the past and really I never should have gotten rid of. But I kind of fall into that where I feel like I need the newest thing, or, the next product I look at, I expect it to be better than what I already have. And that's not always the case. So I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of details on each one of these. Now, the AD700X from Audio Technica is honestly the one that just blew me away. This is a pair that I've looked at in the past and I always kind of just brushed it off because I wasn't a huge fan of basically that headband padding where it's like two separate pieces. It's actually a pretty large headphone for the most part, and to me it just kind of looks silly, so it always kind of turned me off from these. But man, the way that these sound and the way that these separate sound, I would say that this would be like a gamer's dream headphone, especially if you're used to playing first-person shooters, because you can even tell if somebody farted behind a building. You can tell the direction it came in and that it was like 200 feet away, because of how good it is at picking up different sounds and just separating them from where they came from. And for music, the sound has a very analog feel to it, and I love it. I mean, the instruments sound real, they don't sound processed. Vocals have this pure sound to them, and it's just easy to get lost in what you're listening to with these. Now, the next pair is the Sennheiser HD280 Pro. Again, these are a very common studio headphone, and that's for a reason. These are very, very detailed. Some people may even consider these to be quite bright, but to me, it's what allows you to hear all of those little details. Now, they do have a long coiled cable, which again kind of shows you that they're made for the studio. It's made where you can kind of get around to other equipment, not have to take your headphones off. And I feel like they're very comfortable. They're made to be worn for a really long time. And I've always kind of felt like they are just one of the better headphones, at least better wired headphones you can get for under $100. Now, the next one is the HiFiMan HE350. I've always kind of felt like this was a really good budget audiophile, like beginner headphone anyway, because they only came in, I think, retailing at $70. This was a pair that you could get on Massdrop, and it was really popular when it first came out, but it's still a really good headphone. And the fact, again, that you can modify it and do all kind of different things just makes it appealing. I mean, this is not the original grill. Somebody just looks like they kind of put chicken wire on the outside of it. I am going to order a different replacement to change out the outside grill, but they already did the base modification, which is basically, taking the grill off and pulling off one little sticker that's covering like the base port hole or the air vent hole. And it just gives the base a lot more life to these and makes them a really fun headphone to listen to. But I will say, out of the box, this is a very bright sounding headphone. It is going to turn some people off that aren't used to that because it really does focus a lot on the highs. Now, the last pair is the Monolith M1060. These are just a beautiful pair of headphones. I mean, you take the slight wooden look that they have around the frame, everything else is pretty much black, and it just makes these look like a very expensive pair of headphones. Now, they are ones that retail for $199, and I feel that for the price, they're incredible. Now, they use 106 millimeter planar magnetic drivers. The bass on these, I do feel like, are kind of boomy. So if you're not a bass head, it might be a pair that you're not interested in, but I do feel like that also kind of gives these a fairly warm sound overall. It kind of feels a little bit more natural. Nothing I feel like is overly bright on this pair. And I think for $200 or a pair that's under $200, it's always been a really good pair of headphones. But again, to get it bundled in with 3 other headphones for under $100, I mean, we're talking about a group of headphones that I think would have retailed over $550. And I got them for $100. And honestly, I love all of them for what they're really good at. And I think this is where we as consumers kind of forget, because we get caught up in the technology side of things. All of these headphones made it fun to listen to music. And I think at the end of the day, that's really why we're buying audio products. You want to be able to plug in or wirelessly connect to something and then just disconnect from everything else. Just listen to music, just kind of lose yourself in an album, and then just rehear things that I already love, but kind of hear them in different ways. So like each one of these headphones have different characteristics that make one song sound completely different in each headphone that you're trying. And I think that's just so much fun And that's why I got into this hobby in the first place. But anyway, at this point, I'm just rambling, but I just wanted to share this with you guys. One, I thought it was just an incredible find to find at a pawn shop, but also it kind of gave me an opportunity to just say, don't always feel like you need to replace something that you already have that's already just doing what you need it to do. You don't need the latest and greatest, and in most cases, they're not really better than what you already have. But guys, that's my video on, again, whatever this was. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.